Donald Trump says his conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping last week was friendly and that he could reach a trade deal with China. The leaders of the world's two biggest economies discussed issues including TikTok, trade and Taiwan in a phone call before Trump took office on Monday. Since taking office, Trump has spoken about a 10% punitive tariff on Chinese imports because he says fentanyl is being sent from China to the U.S. via Mexico and Canada. He has also threatened to place tariffs on. However, he did not immediately impose tariffs as he had promised during his election campaign. Trump has also threatened tariffs against the European Union, Mexico, and Canada. Trump says he would rather not use tariffs against China, but called tariffs a tremendous power. A federal judge on Thursday blocked Donald Trump's administration from implementing the Republican president's executive order curtailing the right to automatic birthright citizenship in the United States of America. The Seattle-based U.S. District Judge John Couganeau, who described the order as blatantly unconstitutional, issued a temporary restraining order at the urging of four Democratic-led states, Washington, Arizona, Illinois, and Oregon, preventing the administration from enforcing the order. Trump had signed the order on Monday, his first day back in office. The judge, an appointee of Republican former President Ronald Reagan, dealt the first legal setback to the hardline policies on immigration that are a centerpiece of Trump's second term as president. President Donald Trump, however, says that they will appeal.
To defend democracy in America and to defend what it means to be an American citizen. We are thrilled that the court saw the seriousness and the urgency of the complaint and request for a temporary restraining order brought by the state of Washington, Oregon, Arizona, and Illinois, and are thrilled that the judge issued a temporary restraining order directing the United States government to take no further action in enforcing and implementing the unconstitutional and un-American executive order attempting to eliminate birthright citizenship in America. This is step one, but to hear the judge from the bench say that in his 40 years as a judge, he has never seen something so blatantly unconstitutional sets the tone for the seriousness of this effort. We'll take one step at a time, but I see no reason why a court of appeals or even the United States Supreme Court would reach a different decision that was reached today. This is fairly obvious. This is fairly simple. This has been expressly determined by the United States Supreme Court, and Congress and multiple executives have looked at it and agreed. And so I was not surprised to see Judge Couganeau sort of dismiss the absurdity of the order and the absurdity of the president's action.
And to discuss further on this issue, I have with me in the studio Baba Yusuf, a policy strategist and the Group CEO of Global Investment and Trade Company, who is also a trade and investment expert and was the first substantive MD/CEO of the first airport free trade zone here in Nigeria. Baba Yusuf, glad to have you join me.
It's a pleasure to be here, Andy.
This is fairly obvious, unconstitutional. The judge said, I've never seen this in my 40 years of being on the bench. Trump says he will appeal. What's your sense of what has been dubbed by many as blatantly, he even said that, unconstitutional, obvious and simple?
Yeah, some of us already saw this, and we've said a lot of the initial steps taken by President Trump are missteps. And very soon, he will smell the coffee because there will be backlashes, both domestic and international, and this is one of them. Interestingly, the United States of America prides itself as a platform, that has been built, on the premise that it allowed immigrants to come in and build that society. Ironically, Donald Trump himself, President Trump, is a sire of immigrants. Whether you want to target illegal or legal, the circumstances of how his grandfather came into the United States of America is a question of how you see the cup, half full or half empty. That being said, the United States of America has come of age such that definitely over 60% of people that drive the economy of the United States of America are in one way or the other immigrants or children of immigrants, first, second, third, fourth generation. So I tell you, Indy, this is the beginning. At the end of the day, this will certainly not fly.
What do you, oh, well, I think you have even said it would not fly, because I was just going to ask you what do you make of his appeal, because the young man there said whether he's taken to the appeal court or the Supreme Court is a matter of constitution, and that of Congress, so that the president
to add to that, the truth is this is a novel matter before the courts in the United States of America. And like every other country, including Nigeria, when you have a novel case like this, you test it to the highest, to the apex court of the land, and such that you rest the matter. And knowing President Trump and his allies, they don't take prisoners. They would like to take it to the end. Don't forget that at the Supreme Court also, there's a politics of the Supreme Court, indeed, and you have more or less the Republican allies at the Supreme Court. So they are, leaning towards the conservatives at the Supreme Court to maybe have their day. But then what did they do? They have the abortion matter coming up. They have this immigrant issue coming up. They have a lot of cases that will end up at the Supreme Court. So definitely his allies at the Supreme Court will have their hands full.
So let's break it down more. You've talked about abortion activists, and of course you talked about the immigration. Let's deal with the 23 of them freed.
Yes.
The thing about 23 of them being freed is, we'll come to immigration, because that's the question that arises also, is the question of differentiating between criminals, those who blatantly, again, that word, break the law, and those who protest. So what do you make of the 23 who blocked, from what you just had me read, they were breaking the law, but he's pardoned them before the March 16, that march that is coming up on life?
Well, if we even backtrack a bit, I remember the insurrectionists that have been, pardoned. So you take it back.
I was going to come to that.
Yes, because, you have to look at it the entire and
holistically,
see what is coming for the United States of America, the bastion of democracy, rule of law, and all that. And it appears a precedent has been set, even with the insurrectionists pardon, and with this that are pardoned. The truth is that President Trump is inadvertently setting up his administration, because having released these people and unleashed them to the society, you are sending a message that the standards of America has gone down, and that people can do stuff that before now are completely unacceptable to the American society, whether it is for the conservatives or for the progressives. And therefore, in the coming months or years, you will see now the United States of America standing on a blurred line of what is right and what is wrong. Definitely, you are seeing some cherry picking of what is right and wrong. And I wonder what a country like the United States of America will be telling developing countries like ours in terms of democracy, in terms of the rule of law.
Yeah, I was reading an article on that somewhere, particularly when it comes to open trade among nations, when you talk about tariffs. But let's delve more into the question of immigration. We'll break into two parts. We'll talk about the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, who were among those that were released. The funny thing is that just a day or so before the event occurred, where he released about 1,500, 1,600, I think even himself had said, we'll check it and see those, but now it's a blanket. And his vice president, J.D. Vance, said, there's a case for those who just protested, no more protest. Then for those who broke the law, broke the seat of power, and for those ones, those are criminal activities.
Absolutely. And
they should pay for it. But Trump is not taking that into account. You're talking about his vice president. So he seems, I was listening to Smakonish today, and he said his surprise is the way that Trump has treated the justice issue.
Well, Trump is back. We're having Trump too. And even apart from Trump, the role the vice presidents play in any system. And President Trump is very assertive. He knows where he's going. J.D. Vance will soon realize that even some things he will have to say, it's either he chooses to be like Mark Pence or he decides to now keep quiet. because Donald Trump has blocked his ears and he's deciding to see, and presidency is not seen as far as it is what he wants. And you see, the problem is for this administration and for the conservatives, going into midterm for a lame duck president, what is he really setting up for the Republican Party and for the conservatives moving in, looking ahead now with regards to these issues that are coming on board, whether it is with regards to the rule of law or immigration and even the trade wars and all that. Because sooner than later, these actions will cause either direct or indirect impact on his administration. They are battling in the United States of America with issues of gun violence all over the place. And now you have people that were brazenly scaling the Capitol, threatening to kill the speaker.
They broke down.
Yes, and they were threatening to kill lawmakers of the United States of America. And now you are telling them, you are free to go.
Not just the lawmakers. In fact, some of the police people are speaking up. Fanon, he talked about the fact that, I think he was almost blinded. People who beat police officers. Vance alluded to that. Rubio, I think alluded to that also. Those people disobeyed the law, should be dealt with.
Yes.
And on the southern border issue,
yes.
I was just noticing today that already there is military planes, they are sending people back to today. I think some were going back to Guatemala, I don't know what's your sense of that issue, because I discussed with Prof. Ken Ife, and he said that's going to affect the labor market of America anywhere you look at it, and things are going to go high if you weed all the immigrants away from United States.
Interestingly, I wrote about this in my column of today, back page column of the Nation newspapers, and I said it, that, taking out these migrants, illegal migrants, whatever migrants, they have an impact on the formal and informal sector of the U.S. economy, indeed. And what it will do is it will definitely scale up the wage bill. Because now you are taking out these people that hitherto were providing some formal or informal service in even some critical sector and some consumer food services. And now you are left with the Americans that have to provide service some notches higher than the wage bill of this. So it's going to have impact on the wage bill, in the short to mid-term.
Yeah.
And then how are Americans prepared to also scale down to do those jobs that these immigrants
were doing,
which most of them actually never wanted to do anyway. We are not making excuses for illegal immigration.
No.
But then, the thing is, Donald Trump is a disruptor. I give it to him. We're going to talk about the commercial aspect of it. But overall, he's going to dilute or counter or negate some of the strides he has made, gaining about 1 trillion on the trade, U.S. But at the end of the day, the critical issue of the domestic economy and the backlashes that will come out from the international, trade and investment is going to backlash. One of them is this labor issue. And then how are you going to also bridge the gap for the manufacturing sector, for example, in terms of reviving your manufacturing sector?
Thank you so much, Baba Yusuf, there on these issues. We didn't have time to talk about his nominees. One of them is Speak Hexed.
Yes.